The Metropolitan Police have announced that they have officially banned the promotion of woke ideologies within the force. And in this video we ask, is the tide turning or is this another distraction? So, we have some good news for you guys in this video, but we are kind of used to these sort of good news stories. Take it with a pinch of salt. I think on the surface it's good, but it's a little bit too good to be true. Anyway, it's one person, the leader, the chief of the Met, that matters. Let's see what we're actually talking about in this video. As you guys have seen, over the last few years, the Metropolitan Police have gone extremely woke without any control or any moderation. You've had a number of rogue officers doing whatever they want, taking the knee to the BLM movement, obviously making everything pink and rainbowy anywhere they went. Instead of policing the country, they just started dancing around. And of course, we now have Sir Mark Rowley, who's the new chief. Well, he's no longer new, he's been around for a bit now. He replaced the Cressida Dick as the chief of the Metropolitan Police, and he's got a different agenda now. So let's see what he has to say. According to Sir Mark Rowley, LGBT agenda, the net zero, the BLM movement, and other political causes will no longer be tolerated at the Met. Only, according to Sir Mark, remembrance poppies, help for heroes wristbands, and the police memorial badges are allowed if police officers want to have something on their uniform, or if they want to promote something on social media, for example, or take a photo. So it's quite interesting because obviously the stuff that is allowed, they're not political stuff. The remembrance poppy is not political. It's basically the people who gave their lives for us to have freedom. And same thing with Help for Heroes and everything else. Now we can criticize the organizations and the charities, but the causes are not political compared to the actual liberal causes that are the social causes or political causes like the BLM movement and everything else. So I personally am fine with this new policy. Now, of course, there's going to be a massive backlash inside the force because there's still a massive infiltration by the illiberal regressives who joined the police and joined all the institutions over the last few decades. Anyway, Rowley said, wearing a poppy in the autumn is perfectly proper, but there is not a lot that we should align to, because the danger is that once you say we are going to align ourselves to a cause because 90% of the population support it, what about the 10%? I mean, it's using an extreme example of 90 to 10, but that's a very good point. Even if it's 10%, what about the 10%? Once you start having environmental and other subjects, there are lots of people in the organization who will personally support those causes, and that's okay. But the Metropolitan Police explicitly supporting them is quite tricky. I'm fairly narrow-minded on this. There are very few causes the policing should be attached to. I mean, technically, there shouldn't be any causes anyway, apart from, obviously, if there's something about the veterans and the police officers, the former police officers, and to have badges to show honor and respect to the actual force and service. That's fine. But the reality of the situation is, it's not the job of the police to even show any sort of indication whether it's good or bad. It's not even the job of the police to go out there and support the Home Office or the Foreign Office or the Culture Secretary or something. It's none of your business. Your job is to keep peace and order and basically go after criminals. Anyway, everything is going back to Cressida Dick because the culture she created made it much worse. Not that everything was perfect before Cressida, no, but we know that things got much worse during her leadership at the Met. Back in 2019, there was a massive public outrage after Met officers were seen dancing and skateboarding with Extinction Rebellion eco-warriors when they were meant to be policing an illegal protest. That's a very good point. It is completely unacceptable. Now, Sir Mark said, engaging with communities to understand what worries them is not woke. I agree. Starting to align yourself to causes is not something policing should be doing. Exactly. The challenge in the modern world of activists and protest groups, and so much of it is online, is that they do drift in different directions. Some groups you can think of do have a very sensible majority membership, and then a few people with extreme views, and then you can't legislate that from outside it. If people don't believe we operate without fear or favor, then that is obviously pretty fatal to us, more than pretty much anybody else. And that is why I think we have to be tougher on that. I mean, yes, exactly. But there's an issue with, there's a quite tricky situation if you support a cause, even if it's not really political, even if it's just cultural, if it's just righteous. The problem is, as Sir Mark said, you don't know which direction it's going to go next week. What if the whole cause was based on a lie? Perfect example, the BLM movement. What if the cause was fine at first, and then the people at the top of the leadership of the cause then decided to take it to a different direction, and you can't really stop it. And you have been aligning yourself to it, and you've been associated with it, and now you're in trouble. And why is it that we never have any of these institutions supporting nationalist causes and more conservative causes? It's always liberal causes. It's because the infiltration has been happening from the liberal side. This is the fascinating part about this. There's a massive discussion inside the intelligence community about the rise of the far right and nationalism and everything else, isolationism. Now, why are they not realizing that you might have one or two or three rogue domestic essentially terrorists who could one day, because they're psychotic, one day in the name of nationalism could come and cause some chaos. It's not really some sort of organized movement. There might be one or two. And you're spending so much money, taxpayers' money, on looking at monitoring them. But the so-called liberal infiltration, it's no longer liberal because it's so far leftist, it's anti-West. Everything's been happening under your supervision, the actual establishment, over the last few decades. None of you thought of it as a threat. Now the Foreign Office is no longer ruling the waves. We are now completely surrendering to all groups, whether it's the White House, whether it's Beijing, whether before, obviously, the whole Ukraine situation was Moscow, and now, of course, we are also surrendering to the Iranian regime because we're scared of Iran. Why are we scared of Iran? Because of Joe Biden and his interests in the region. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. My rant is over. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.